Well, good morning. I appreciate you coming. Russell Lewis, good to see you again.
Hi, David. Nice to meet you.
Again, you did an excellent job on your interview, and I'm very excited that you're here and accepted the position. So, just got a couple more things I'd like to talk to you about. We'll tour the building a little bit, get you some needs to knows and understanding. All right.
Okay, sounds great.
Perfect. So first thing I want to get back to is our vision statement that we had here, right? So remember at Evans, we're focused on providing students an excellent education, just like a lot of other people, right?
Right.
And we're giving them all the skills necessary. We're in a wonderful district here that is on the front end of financing, so we're able to definitely give them what they need. But we're also, again, we're real big on community and how can our community help us and help them. So all of that tied into one, and now that you've accepted your job and you see yourself here, I kind of wanted to meet back with you and see where does that vision statement sit with David, and how is David going to make that vision statement work, not only here at Evans, but in your little room and with your own little community.
Right. Well, like we talked about in the interview, like I'm pretty good at making relationships and building positive ones with students. So in terms of making sure I'm teaching them not just science, but everything as a whole, helping them as a person. And part of that kind of bleeds into the outside world. Like I've got a life of my own, I have time for everything, but I'll absolutely be at their games and like when I see them at the grocery store, and a lot of it is being a positive role model and not running from them or telling their mom what terrible thing they did whenever I see them. It's just I'm trying to help them get to be a young adult.
Right. You ever heard of positive phone calls?
Yeah, we didn't call it a thing, but it was call home either way.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So we have definitely done kind of like an institution of that here. We obviously call a lot when they don't do right, but it's very refreshing as a parent. I'm a parent of some young children myself, to get a phone call. You're scared to death. You see that number, but then when it's, hey, your son, your daughter did really good today, did this, did or that. So I would highly suggest in your repertoire of strategies, especially if you're actually struggling with one. If you call home one time when they did something right, you'll be amazed all of a sudden the extra support you get, or when they do mess up, how much they'll be on your side, if you will. So, a couple things I wanted to also see as you get going when we creating your own procedures and policies. I kind of want to see your stance now that you've got your feet on the ground, how you're going to distribute your expectations, discipline as far as what kind of system you use, how you're going to let the kids understand too. So we all know when they do wrong, but are the kids going to have an understanding of what your expectations are all year round, or is it going to be like, oh, he's in this mood today and then he's got to be that? So
I'm pretty consistent. Like I used to tell my students, there's 3 things to remember and we'll be all right, because we can work through anything other than these 3. Don't yell, don't throw stuff, and don't make me repeat myself. And I don't mind repeating when I'm teaching something,
right.
But like if I've told you to quit throwing something,
right?
No, yeah. So
So how are you consistent with that? I like that. So
right,
what do you do like first day?
First day is one of the first days it's already day 1 of me trying to meet them and know them. We've done different things where it's like watching Jimmy Fallon. Like I kind of bring each one up and interview them. You immediately can see who's comfortable with it and who's not. So if they're comfortable with it, I let them make the jokes. If they're uncomfortable, I talk a lot and make the jokes, and you can tell by their how flush their skin gets.
Sure.
And all that. But within there, I let them know a little bit about me, and I've made the mistake years before where it was too much about me, and so you find that healthy balance of what do they need to know about me, and what's get in and out what they can remember, and then it becomes about them.
Yep.
I'll probably go around and meet with my team and see what they do. So if we have a team-wide expectation of late policies, the important stuff that'll you get in trouble with later. That way I'm expressing that to them, get that in writing, send it home, maybe get a parent signature, bring it back.
I like it.
But yeah, and this is me. I don't really get like I rarely yell. Like I can get stern,
sure.
But I rarely yell, and I don't, and I get happy and have fun, but I'm not like off the walls.
Right.
So they'll get used to my tone. They get used to that. It's not what mood is he in. It's a pretty stable place to be.
Right.
It's a safe place.
Yeah. So that's obviously a great foundation for building relationships. When you do have the student that doesn't know where the line is, right?
Right.
How do you address that guy or that girl?
I'm just very direct with it. Like I'm real patient. I'm like, hey man, and so sometimes you can, because science has so many labs and they're split up. If it's in the moment, it's just to be like, hey, we don't do that. Then we move on. Like I'm not trying to embarrass them. If it's something that needs a little bit more talking, I'll go over to them when they're in the lab group, And if it's that outrageous, I'll be like, hey, why don't you go sit in the hall real quick? We're going to talk in a second. And I am giving him a little bit of that public burn so he feels it. And then everybody can get the oohs out if they're going, ooh. And then when I go out there, like again, I'm not yelling. I'm like, hey, man, you can't do that. Like, this is how it's going to be. And it's just a very clear line. If you do it again, you're going to talk to Mr. Lewis. And
Right.
it's, and I'll call home and let mom know.
Good. I like the part where you reach back.
But
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and sometimes we call them together, but a lot of it is you've done this, so you pay the price.
Right. I think that's huge that you already have the foundation of understanding that you need to call home. Again, we were just talking about calling home as a positive, but any of these little things coming from the admin, if I know my teachers have, we can call it, dotting the I on these things, it just helps me protect you, but it also helps me facilitate that you've done the right thing to the parent. So they're obviously going to be upset. Remember, all Jimmys and little Susies are innocent, right? For the most part. This is the parental thought process. But if I have a lot of this, you can call it evidence. We don't want to sound like a court system, but if I have all of this in place, when I do make this phone call, it can be more of a factual, like, listen, I'm sorry that Jimmy or Susie's in trouble, and here's what happened though, and you were contacted and these items have been addressed, and I'm sorry that this is happening to you, but this is where we're standing pat, and and I'm going to back my teacher 100% on what he has done here. So that is huge. It's huge, coming to the admin spot for covering the bases, if you will, on that. But just in use in general, now you gain an extreme amount of credibility with the rest of the parents and students in that class too, going, hey, Mr. Holdham's he handles his business. He gives me a shot, right? And if not, I'm going to be held accountable. So that's very good that you do that, and I can't wait to see how you do that in the future.
Thanks.
So it kind of hints on my next question there. It's just building rapport with parents.
Yeah.
How you can do that, especially where we are in middle school. They're still kind of wanting to be attached, like they were in elementary, where they need to be attached. But yet they're starting to learn, Susie and Jimmy need to make their own decisions, but yet I need to be there to crack the whip. And then in high school, it's a whole different rapport. It's your informational system, right?
Right.
So here in middle school, when you're building rapport, besides that communication key, what else have you learned or been given information on how to do that with your parents?
So it's like you said, it's multi-layered and it depends on the grade. So like I'd rather communicate too much than too little, but I don't want to overwhelm them because sometimes like the web system we use for like our websites emails out and they'll start getting peppered because
Oh yeah.
middle school you've got more than one teacher, and so technology plays a role in it too. So it'll be a mix of technology and personal. So in a personal way, like we've always got meet the teacher night. We've got inviting them up to conferences on either the day of conferences or just before school, after school. When we see them out at basketball games, and that's a great time to put in a positive note. And then all your phone calls. And then the more personalized, quick in and out is while you can send a staff-wide email, there's actually an extension that I used to use and continue to use until the extension doesn't work in Google Sheets, where if you link up a comment with an email address, it'll go down the row and send a personalized email out. Nice. And so I used to let them know every time we got a test score or an average, and that way, I'm going to hit 80% of my parents with that. And then if I get an undelivered message back from my email server, or I just don't hear anything at all, then I kind of investigate further.
Very nice.
Because maybe they don't have a computer at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so it's that communication piece. They realize that I'm trying to take care of their kid at school, and teach them while they're with me. And I'm not just hosting them, like I'm invested in their kid.
All right, so all that so far is great. I really think you're on the right track, especially when you communicate with your team how you're going to develop those procedures and policies to see what they've done that's successful. I think you're on the right track, and I feel confident that you'll be handling your business there, and that makes me feel really confident.
Thank you.
Now, one thing I do want to talk about to continue on this confident road that I'm feeling for you is I want to talk about some character things that are a must for me. And they're not just a must for me here, but it's kind of district-wide and from our great leadership that has been presented. And it's just, to me, from being in the business for a little while, just a really great thing to do. And that's talking about how you handle yourself as an employee. Because we're going to have more bad days than there are good days. Hopefully you're not too naive and you come to grasp with that. So understanding, critiquing, maybe, obviously being honest. You make a mistake, you're a human being, right? Be honest and upfront about that. what your plans are to fix that. Hopefully don't just come to me with the problem. Maybe you already have some ideas of how to fix it. Then we can work as a team together to work on those. I promise you, I'm not going to leave you on an island unless I have to. So let's not make that ever have to happen. And this just falls back to character as an individual. Hopefully this doesn't come across as an I got you. This is really a statement for you to live by as a person more than just an employee. Listen, we're going to make mistakes. Again, I'm going to go back to that. There's plenty of opportunity to fix those mistakes with positivity if we're just upfront, we're honest, and everybody in the game knows what part and what piece they need to do to fix it. Hiding it or trying to cover it up, this just creates this massive mountain that we can't overcome, and that at the end of the day, you're not going to have any help with. Now, I don't see any of those, traits with you. This is just my statement, if you will. So,
Sure.
With my little statement and what I've said there, what are your feelings toward that? What are some of your backgrounds that you've already had to deal with, and your thoughts on this, if you will?
Right. Well, I don't expect any big things to happen. Generally, that's just not kind of life I lead. But sometimes accidents do happen, and I'll let you know if something does happen. In terms of the little things, like as long as it came across that they would never be intentional, like a missed duty or like I'm always going to leave my sub plans. I'm always going to, like if I'm running late, but even then it's a communication piece to then, let you know that I'm wake up earlier next time, that kind of stuff. But I appreciate it being a high expectations with accountability, but also a two-way communication. It's not a be afraid to report it kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I guess coming from my old school street and growing up in the coaching world too, we can learn all the X's and O's we want. We can know our curriculum inside and out. But at the end of the day, we're still teaching human beings that don't work like the playbook, right?
Right.
So, and then you're also that human element as well. So things are going to happen. They should happen because that's growth, right? And understanding that I can mess up, right? And I should mess up so I can continue to grow. If you were perfect at it, I don't think you'd be sitting here right now. It wouldn't work out too well. But just knowing that I need to communicate all my possibilities. That's kind of just how I've grown up with it. Accept fault as much as we want to accept the backpack, right? Accept some fault and know that I need help is another huge character deal with us and with me here at Evans, to know that I need to. This is out of my realm, and I don't want to screw it up. I'd rather be, on the forefront of being an innovator at it. Well, that comes from knowing, your peers in your building or us to reach out and get help from us. Definitely don't ever want you to think that, oh, well, that's administration. I only need to, be on my suit and tie and walk formal lines with them. No, hopefully you know that we've been there. Maybe we're recently removed and we do know what it's like, and we can offer you some skill sets or some small little strategies that get you back on track. But again, that comes with that communication piece like you're talking about. Just brutal honesty. I like brutal honesty. Let me determine if I can handle it or not. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So I think that gets in the way with some people as well. They're afraid that I won't handle it well. Let me be the judge of that. And hopefully I've put you in a position where you feel like my door is open. That I know a lot of people say that. I have an open door policy, and then you tell them one thing, you're like, nope, that's a closed door. So hopefully, as we build our relationship, that you always know that door is open, and that's some of the key elements that I'm here for. So character, as you can imagine, is big on my list. It was big on my list in in the classroom too. I expected my kids to put that at the foremost of their ability in my classroom. They know how to read, they know how to write, they know how to add. I didn't feel I needed to do that as much with them as much as I needed to teach them some life skills. And it sounds like when we were talking about how you are with your expectations, that you've got a little bit of that in you. So I can see that going real far for you.
Thank you.
So, cut. So where'd that go? That's 11:51. All right, now what?
Do you have anything left on the list?
Other than starting the tour, no?
Yeah, tell me about PLCs.
Right, and we're going to do that. That's what I'm saying. We're going to start that here, or we're going to do that as we walk.
Why don't you do it here and then do it when you walk, and then we'll see which is
Right.
more thorough.
All right.
I'm just gonna let it roll.
Yep. I'm doing a small, so we know where to cut. starting, all right, which kind of leads me to bleed into with the character talk, that how we should act, obviously with me as an employee or as a staff member, but as yourself with your own colleagues.
Right.
We are an enormous PLC team here. We bought into this a while ago, and I know in your interview you said that's awesome. You come from a little bit of a background of that too.
Yeah.
It's not just a standard here. It's not even just an expectation here. It is a way here. And it's fully backed. And when people finally buy into it and work with it, they're almost like, well, what have I've been missing? I should have been doing this a long time ago. As long as, again, individuals understand that it's not just my way, right? 4 heads are better than one when it comes to, again, a classroom, right? Just give me a little bit more. I'd love to hear it again.
Sure.
Your takes on the PLC,
Right.
what you think's involved, and then I can fill in any gaps of actually what's going to take part here within your team.
Okay, that'd be helpful, because we didn't call them PLCs, but so if you could lay out what you do. Generally, what I taught with, you have team members moving in and out, and so mostly, and honestly, it comes from, it helps me do my job to know what my teammates doing. So I would go seek them out, sit in their classroom and meet with them and figure out what they're going to teach and how are they going to do it. And if I didn't like it, we found, if I did like it, do we have enough equipment to do it on the same day? And if I don't like it, like what's the point to it? And we'd have that discussion as to what skill are you teaching them? And then there's some teammates that you don't necessarily want their point of view, but you still
Right.
need to know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So sometimes we would all meet at the same time. Sometimes I'd have to go to different rooms and find people. Sometimes they'd find me, once you do that for a while with one guy, and you just, whether you work together or not, you become friends, you'll find each other. And some guys I'd have to go find. But so whenever you were in the interview were describing PLC, and you were telling me the basic idea, I know that we did it, but it wasn't as structured. Tell me about what y'all do here.
Right. So the first thing I wanted to take from just knowing what you said there is learning how to compromise. Right. And that goes back to they're the staff member too. Which again, don't be naive. They're in every team. They're on every campus. Right. Learning how to compromise, and coming from the standpoint, if we have that in our mind and our goal first, usually those compromises aren't as drastic as we think or as grave of a situation.
Right.
So that's tip number 1, learn how to compromise, right? But again, remember, you're the master of your own stuff in your room. So coming together, to answer your question, coming together in a PLC is understanding using data, which we're big on. Data is definitely not a gotcha. It's an extreme, here it is. Here's what on a test-driven system, right? Or you can use it as non-test. We can give data sets on what we've done on formatives, just to see how our kids are as a measuring stick. Again, hopefully you're well balanced with that as a teacher. You want that. Right. It is definitely not a gotcha. It should be a motivator, positive or negative. Positive meaning, hey, I'm here. How can I get to the next goal set? Negatively, I don't like being here. I want to move this. That's where those PLCs can come in. As you're sitting with your team and you guys go over your data sets after each, definitely district exam, but hopefully. I know on your team, as a matter of fact, they do put formatives in there so they can get, especially early, they can get a balance of where their students are to know where they can start shifting their activities, start shifting strategies. They will actually take in their PLC and start learning how to do flex grouping, and that can mean you get Susan's class for her second and third period, and because they didn't get a certain lab very well, and your guys rocked it for some reason, well, we'll switch those and let you teach that class too, because again, it's not about the teacher necessarily, it's about how the students perceived it, and if they perceive that lab from you extraordinary, well, let's get them all in there, right? So these PLCs help us do that, and so that you guys can design that set. I can write down all day long, that's a great idea, but it's going to take you guys figuring out within your 8, 6, 9 week section how we're going to develop that and when we're going to develop that and if that's a good development. Yes, you're going to have your standards. Yes, we need to make sure we're doing it. It's kind of a little bit beyond that. That to me, that's the paper minutia. It's when you sit down, is this lab engaging enough? And if it's not engaging enough, what makes it engaging enough? Is it, like I said, is it you teaching 2 classes from somebody else, or you needing to go observe Susan's class because she rocked it. That's one of the major things that this allows it to do. The other awesome thing that allows it to do is to get co-curricular, right? What if science and history, right, especially if you're talking about the geography part of it, the topography stuff, have some type of connection? What a better way, again, more heads working with our kids to get together, right? And ELAR is another big deal with history. There's tons of stories that intertwine with history. So it just allows a more grander opportunity to coexist with information for kids to learn. So that and I know that sounds huge, right? But when you're sitting with your groups and you have at least 2 days a week, because that's something else. There's 2 days a week you're doing that.
Okay.
You know, in your conference period, it is PLC time. It's not just I'm going to catch up on grades. I'm going to have me time. You got 3 days a week for that. Now, your team may decide they want 4 days of PLC time. That's up to them. What we mandate here is 2 days.
Okay.
All right. So you will still have you time, okay? But for these PLCs, you're definitely going to get 2 days a week in a structured environment.
Okay.
So, and again, early that may change. Early may be front loaded, right? Because it's
Sure.
beginning of the year, and then about midway point before that Christmas break, we have some better data on our kids, and then it's a fine-tuned machine as you go as well.
Sure.
So, what else can I offer you on the PLC stuff?
How does it run? Is there a team lead who does it? Is it more of like what do you call that? Like a democracy? Like
Yeah.
we all go in?
That's great. So usually we have an A team, right? And they meet. That's usually all the team leads and department chairs. They'll sit and they meet with us and we go over some objectives that we want to see done, right? They will take that back to the team. So yes, in essence, the team leader, the department chairs, they're not overseeing the meeting. They have the objectives that we want to see covered from just the formality of here's what we better be targeting.
Okay.
Because we still need you to you being your team to know exactly what I'm targeting. Again, I can print out stuff all day long, but I'm not in your classroom. I don't know what your 4th period core class is doing versus your, Susan's 5th period core class. So this is why when y'all meet together, coming together with that information. So your team leader will sit and kind of run it, if you will, but you all are running it. They understand delegation is a big thing. You won't be just answering questions and offering a strategy every now and then. Usually what happens is after 2 or 3, since you're new, Susan's now going to say, your turn. So next week, Tuesday and Thursday, you'll be running our PLCs. Please come to the table. Google Docs has been huge. I know the teams have been using big time on Google, so it's so transparent.
Okay.
So I'll let her really get into that for you as far as how she has it all manipulated, but that's generally the basis of the flow of it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Where do we meet?
So you'll be meeting, usually the team leaders meet in their classroom,
Okay.
right? For the whole department meetings, if you will, that's in the department head's room. And then for an overall, when we meet with admin, when the A team meets with admin, we usually do it in the library just because it's, kind of the bigger space, if you will.
Okay.
So don't confuse it with our staff meetings. Our staff meetings that we have on Wednesday after school, that's not necessarily a PLC. We can take things to the PLC and there'll be some things to take. But that's just where we meet as a staff and get information from myself and from Ms. Jackson, the principal, just about the items that we need checked off throughout the year.
Okay.
All right.
All
So
right.
obviously, I'm going to take you through the building here, and I'll show you obviously all these places. I know you've probably seen some of them, but I'll take you to classroom. We kind of try to keep everything in little blocks here. We are 2 big squares, so we try to keep everything on blocks so you're next to your team. Obviously, I'll show you how where to go as far as the copy rooms or what's expected in the lounge, teacher talk, and all that good stuff.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. Okay.
All right, so one of the last things I want to talk about before we go tour the building is I want to talk about how we kind of disaggregate some of this information that we get for STAR.
Okay.
And when we meet with our team leads and we meet with our curriculum directors, where we take this information, what it's for. I have a pretty unique situation for you to walk into here. I want to be able to show you why we do it. So even in your head, I know you have an answer, but I'm going to be able to show you on paper why we have certain sub-pop groups and why we spend a little time with them and can kind of show you what happens by the numbers when we do spend some time and energy with them, and if they weren't given some proper energy. My questions for you will be is some of the reasons why some of these sub pop groups stick out, what would cause them, kind of get your feedback on some of that. But let me read you a couple of things just for standard stuff here. We got sixth grade reading, right?
Right.
All of our students overall, just in the approaches area. So not going to talk about doesn't meet, not going to talk about meets and masters. We're just going to take that general middle, right, where we would think everybody at least should be. We're hoping and we're praying, right?
Right.
So we had 81% of all of our students hit that.
Okay.
So as a nice little gym, I want to hope that all my subgroups are at least somewhere near there.
Right.
Reality says no. So let's talk about some reality. So we'll go immediately to economically disadvantaged, which we have about 30% of our school
Okay.
involved in here. All right. Only 59% of my sixth grade reading was able to at least approach.
Okay.
So we have some gaps there.
Yeah.
Now we can look into our information of why, and we have. We get all of our elementary numbers to the best of our ability, and we try to get these kids already tracking and get them in classes to help them. But now, for sure, going into seventh grade, we have a much deeper plan for them, right?
Okay.
But let's look at our special education, which plays an enormous number into it.
Right.
37% of that as well was into the approaches. At risk, we're back up to around the 58%.
Okay.
So this gives us a very good broad line area to start taking these kids, right, and start working with them in a different manner.
Right.
And before I get your input, I want to show you what can happen.
Okay.
All right, so here's our eighth grade reading. So remember I gave you sixth grade, right? So let's look what happened with eighth grade now. So all of our students at approaches, this is in April. This is when we took it the first time,
Okay.
right? 89%.
All right.
So we've already jumped.
Yeah.
So we show them some. It's not mind-boggling, awesome, right? But it's still
It's almost letter grade.
right, already up. And look what our economically disadvantaged. Now this one is. We went from 59 to 73.
Awesome.
All right, so we're doing some really good things in transitioning them from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Okay.
Right, and this is where we like our PLC groups, and when we meet with our ICs and we start disaggregating a lot of this information, this is what we're doing. This is what we're trying to figure out. And then just one more real quick, our special education didn't really change a whole lot at the. Well, actually, I'm sorry, it did. I was looking at the wrong number. It went from 37 to 53.
Awesome.
Right, so we can see some massive ones. Now, let's talk about when they have to retake it and have the cumulative one.
Sure.
Right, we go from 89 to 94.
Awesome.
Right,
Okay.
enormous,
Yeah.
right? And then the numbers obviously are indicative as that as well. We go from 73 to 83. So with our economically disadvantaged.
Awesome.
So these numbers trend not just a little bit of a peak. I mean, we got some major lines going up. So just from hearing that information and giving you a little bit of what I, could just briefly, what is this in indicating to you? What's really happening when our teachers get these numbers?
Oh, well, it's probably proving that whenever you go over something, like, you can't just do it once, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, depending on whether a student has special education and has some sort of special need, or maybe just didn't have whatever support at home. Like, some kids are going to get home and mom and dad are going to be home, and some kids are going to get home and mom and dad might be working or something like that. So it kind of tells me that as we go through middle school, we are adding support.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Because we can't help economically disadvantaged. They are who they are. We don't need to pity them. We don't need to, feel sorry for them. This is who they are. What we can do is change what we do in here.
Yeah.
Right? And if they don't get special services at home like other parents can do, we make sure we try to do that here. So when you're taking this information and you're sitting with your team and your PLC, we have a very strong system here where we've developed certain targets, if you will, certain programs already that's going to allow that. Like after school tutoring for a disadvantaged kid with a single parent. How many times do you think they're coming?
Well, yeah. I bet that's even hard to even estimate, just because.
So why only put that on? Why is that their only opportunity? Right? We don't believe that here. We have some stuff already built into our schedule that allows that.
Okay.
We call it pulling. We have a certain name that we use here, and it's in our Bell system. It gives them an automatic tutoring time. that they're not missing a quality core class from already.
Okay.
So it's already built in, right? Our admin has done a beautiful job here of figuring out this time schedule to allow that. Obviously, when we get to the STAR, that's important, but just to build them up before the STAR even happens, there's a lot of pre-leg work, right?
Okay.
And you don't have to worry about that schedule. It's already set. You'll have it in front of you, and you'll know when. And it's not we're taking them out today, and 4 weeks from now you're going. Are we still taking Jimmy out? With our RTI program and our department's already set up, and our ICs, it's already well documented and formulated who's going where, when, and the work that goes along with it too.
Okay.
So I know you'll have a lot more questions when it comes to that.
Oh, sure.
And I'll definitely leave that to our ICs and RTI people, because they've already, their wheel is very round and it's rolling very well. So I'll let them tell you their program on it. But that's where this process definitely starts. Our ICs are primarily the ones giving you this information in our data meetings, not just for STAR, but for some of the other information we were talking about, whether it's district tests, whether it's school tests, or even, like I said, some of those formatives.
Mm-hmm.
That when you sit down, you don't walk out going, okay, that's great. You're walking out with plans already, because the ICs obviously have an enormous grasp, at least curriculum-wise, on how to start some of these programs.
Right.
And again, you're walking into a team it's a very old, very, very good old machine. So that you're going to luck out there as far as groundwork start. Now, they're definitely looking for new ideas. Just because it's a good machine doesn't mean it can't be updated. So
right.
So
you showed me reading. Can you show me math?
You bet, I sure can.
If you have math.
Sure do. So 6th grade math, which we had a little bit of a discrepancy. All right. So 6th grade math, everybody who approached 91%.
That's awesome.
So that's a really good number. Our eco is at a 77. So not leaps and bounds, but a decent number. Yeah, it's something we can work with. Let's go down to our special education, 49%. Right?
That's about like the other one.
Yeah. So and early in, just learning and get to know these kids. That's not a horrific number by any stance. But let's see how they develop when we get 3 years on them, right? So here's our 8th grade math. So we went down a little bit, but not a lot. So we went from 91 to 88 for overall. But look what our eco has done here. We went 77 to 78.
Okay.
So again, it's consistent, right?
Yeah.
And then our special education, here's exactly what I was talking about. 63 now instead of the 40. What did I say? 49?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is, 49, right?
Awesome.
Cumulative, again, now that we've had some opportunities to work with them after that first testing and really hone in at the 8th grade level, shoots up massively. 96%.
Awesome.
Our ecos went up to 92%.
That's
right.
Good. Okay.
So again, and then we'll go ahead, special education, 80. Hello. Right?
Yeah.
So most likely, obviously with special education, they have a firmer grasp on how we're going to get to some of these more needed kids. But it also just shows you very indicative to where we've had a little bit of gap. What I want to do and mention is why wasn't there as much of a growth between, that first number in 6th grade to the first time they took it in 8th grade? That could be a number of things. Fortunately, I have that answer for you, but I want to see what possibly you think would be that answer. Why it was kind of stagnant, if you will.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty good number to be stagnant at, right?
Sure.
Like if it was 80 to 80, that'd be a little bit harder to answer. I don't know. Maybe we're within like a statistical range. Like it doesn't, what's the answer?
Sure. Our 7th grade team struggled a little bit, not terribly, but their numbers weren't as strong as far as developing especially the kids that we needed to develop.
Okay.
It's almost like they didn't go forth enough.
Gotcha.
That they were getting into 8th grade with a great jump start.
Gotcha.
They kind of came in almost dormant.
Okay.
And then obviously you can see we worked them back up and through.
Absolutely.
And we would prefer not to do that. We would prefer that number was already there and we're taking off from the get-go. But just kind of goes to show you why these numbers are so good to use, why the data is important, because we can find these gaps and then address them, right?
Right.
And teachers that we have in place there are fine, and we just ran into not enough PLC, if you will. I'm going to be a little bit diplomatic about it.
Right.
But again, we're humans, and that's part of it. But getting them on the same page to find a strategy or several strategies
Sure.
to back that and buy into the process a little bit.
Okay.
The new strategies to get them being again our at risk or economically disadvantaged kiddos. Since that's a large number of our population that aren't doing as well on the approaching.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Can I ask you for one more?
please.
Since I've got science, do you have 8th grade science?
I sure do.
I'm sorry, I know you got 27.
No, that's what this is. Let me go through here. 8th grade science. You like science or something, huh?
Yes. You want me to teach it for you?
Right.
Yeah.
So here's what we did in science. It's a really terrible number. 93%
Awesome.
had approached in 8th grade science,
Okay.
right? And our ecos were at 80. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Our special education at 67. Man, they were really close.
Right. That
Right.
matches those other 8th grade numbers.
Absolutely. So
Awesome.
apparently you science people are doing something smart, something
Right.
good.
Right.
Some type of special Jedi mind trick you guys got going on.
Yeah, so you learned it in school, yeah.
So
Okay. All right, thank you for showing me that.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to tour the building here, and as I was telling you, we're in a very fortunate district here, and as we walk through, and as you'll see, we're definitely getting some improvements to our building. When we go into your classroom, it's going to look different from the day when you came and interviewed. We're taking out some old technology, we're updating it to new technology. There they go. Our fine arts department is actually getting kind of a whole new makeover. It's getting bigger. They're getting some better spaces. It's really neat. So our fine art department is getting some really good stuff, and all of our classrooms are being updated. Again, we're very blessed in this district when it comes to getting updates and upgrades. So obviously it is an expectation that we use it here, but you're going to want to because there's some really cool toys. So come on, let's go ahead and take a look here. So coming up here will be our fine arts wing. So I want to kind of give you a little, we're not allowed to go down in there right now. We don't have our hard hats. But as you can see, we're getting updated. And on past where you see them working is a whole new section. It's about another, it's almost double this space right here.
Okay.
So it is pretty extraordinary and pretty awesome.
What classes make? I'm sorry, I don't teach fine art. What classes make up fine arts?
So we'll be doing our choir in here. We'll be doing our band. We'll be doing our symphonic stuff.
Oh, okay.
Everything is going to, and also our little bit of our, technical theater and drama is also in there as well.
Okay.
So there it is.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
And then right across here's our library. All right. So like I mentioned earlier, this is definitely where we're going to be doing our staff meetings. We'll also be holding our admin meetings, if you will, if we need the extra space. But this is generally where all that'll go down. I'm just going to stay on the bottom level with you for this. I'm going to take you to your science classroom. Anything upstairs is 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
All 6th grade is downstairs, along with our SPED. This is obviously to help keep the flow of traffic, but it's also to help keep the flow of attitude. So kind of let those baby 6th graders not be overwhelmed too much. So, like I told you, we're split into two big squares here. So we have D halls and we have E halls.
Okay,
So,
thanks,
all right, so coming up here, we have your classroom here. This is, you're getting a new paint job right now, so they're
Okay.
definitely updating here. So if you come on in, we'll let you see your classroom, kind of duck. All right, so you got lots of cabinet space. You got all the sinks. We do the big rectangle desks here, and all your safety showers and information there. So. Oh, shut off valve. There you see you're getting a brand new paint job.
I am.
So big enough for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, space for labs.
Yeah, good for labs, isn't it? So also we will you're getting a kind of a new monitor up here. So think of a massive touchscreen phone. That would be
Alright.
what you're getting there. So we used to have something called a smartboard.
Okay.
So it's not a smartboard anymore. It's just take your phone and make it 70 inches, and that's what'll be on the wall.
All right. Okay.
Yes, it's very, very cool, very, very innovative.
Yeah.
A lot of people will obviously be jealous of that. So I know I'm jealous. I didn't have those in my classroom.
Yeah. Didn't have it at the last school.
Yeah. So this is your classroom. So and as so to speak, the other I apologize. I'm gonna walk right back in front of you. You're adjoined with the other science rooms. So
Okay.
right out the door there, there'll be your next science room.
Okay.
And then the next science room is adjourned to it all through the door. So you don't have to go around the hallways to make these loops for yourself. And as an example, the one right next door is Susan's room, and that's the team lead. So that's where, again, you would be holding your
Okay.
your PLCs and other conferences that you might have.
Okay.
Right?
Is there a storage closet for
Yeah.
anything?
Yes.
Probably.
Actually, it's in the team leads,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And then for duty, I know you brought that up earlier.
Yes.
Simple, everything. Everybody needs to be out here during hallway duty. So as you can see, if all of our teachers are where they're supposed to be, kids literally have about 25 feet before they think they can do anything. Right? And
Yeah.
that's usually not a problem here, but if I have you out stationed by your door, welcoming kids in first, it's just good. The kids know that you're always there for them.
Absolutely.
And then if I have all of our teachers staged like that, it really helps. So that's a duty that's not going to be on paper for you. It's just
It's an expectation.
it's an expectation. I'm
Okay.
sure you had that at your other school.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to see here's our basic classrooms. I say basic, non-science.
Right.
So as you can see, they're doing the same thing. They took down the old projector style smart boards, and they're being updated. So it's a big deal here. We're probably the second oldest middle school.
Okay.
So we've kind of had this coming,
Right.
if you will. This is a big update for us, even though we had quality stuff in here before. We were kind of last on the list from our second most recent bond to get this done. So very exciting. I know the teachers are actually nipping at the bud really to get back in here and get all their stuff put back together. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any questions so far? It's kind of
No, not at all. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Duties. We have what's also called a sweeper duty,
Okay.
where if it is the beginning of your conference period once a week, your team will kind of just be doing what we're doing here. We're sweeping the hall, make sure all little Jimmys and Johnnies and Sues got into their classroom.
Right.
Just kind of let them know too that we don't stand for loitering in the hall. That you need to be somewhere.
Okay.
Warm ups. Do you have warm ups? What did you used to call them in your school?
Well, we give them a goofy name, either warm up or bell ringers.
Bell ringers,
Yeah.
right? These are crucial for that. Not only for learning, but it helps get the kids in your classroom.
Right.
If the kid thinks it's work for a grade, not saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes it is. If it's something fun for them to set up, they're not going to want to be out here. They're going to want to be in there.
Right.
So I'm glad you have some.
Absolutely.
In your science, you get to do some
Right.
really cool things. You have
Absolutely.
an edge on us. So
Yeah. One year we started off with a YouTube video every day so that we could discuss the video.
see, that's
And then they'd always try to suggest a video. I'm like, as that doesn't apply. But you
Right.
got to break it nicely. too.
absolutely. See, you already have a leg up. I'm not saying history. I had a leg up too. There's always
Yeah.
we would do history word or history clip of the day. So
Oh, there you go.
It was pretty good. So math kind of struggles. ELAR, they can have some pretty cool bell ringers, but poor math. They got to get after it. It's really a tough one.
You can figure
So,
it out.
like I said, as you can see, it's again just a block. It's really easy. Coming in the middle of the hallways is where our admin teams are, so that the AP and counselors will be right up here on our right.
Okay.
So if the unfortunate incident that you need to send a student down, this is where they'll come with a pass and a reason.
Okay.
That is the office right here. If anybody's tardy and we can't deal with it, this is also where they come. They'll come get their tardy passes here. So this is the office. So obviously summertime, they're not in. So, and then, as I said, it just continues on that way.
Okay.
Any questions or just talking about main little small building things that I can answer for you?
Let's try to think of what I would need. Like, did we pass any like staff bathrooms or break rooms, copy machine?
Right. So
laminator?
yeah, we can definitely walk back to the teachers' lounge is definitely up there, and that's where you'll have your lunch. You don't have to eat lunch in there. I know we all have working lunches, right?
Right.
You can definitely do that in there. Staff bathrooms are in each corner, so we did walk by it up
Okay.
on our way.
Okay.
It's just use your badge or key
Okay.
to let yourself in there, and the same thing in the lounge.
Okay.
So.
And then what's all the way at the very end?
The very end is our athletic department. So
Okay.
that's where our two gyms are. That's where our boys athletics is on the left with their locker rooms, and our females are on the right with their locker rooms separated by I guess you'd call it one of those walk-through doors,
Sure.
glass doors to keep them separated. But that's where our athletics will take off and do all their shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Right, so here's a couple of our FAC rooms. It's very neat. They get their life skills in here, and and have a little bit different style classroom for their needs. It's pretty fun to actually go in there and watch them. I enjoy some of their lessons.
Right, those are sweet kids.
They're some fun kiddos. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So we'll see you in a couple weeks when we come back for the academy. You get you all lined out with a bunch of paperwork to do and a bunch of
Right.
stuff to do in your
Car full of
classroom.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, get all those things going, and then meet the teacher night and ready to roll.
All right. Hey, thank you.
You bet, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.